And then I would think about like when he first passed, because with the tapping, with like going to yoga, it definitely eased it. But then once we kind of like
Yep.
go our separate ways, and it was definitely harder because I didn't have no one, like no therapist at all or anything.
Thank you for joining me last week on my podcast. I want to welcome you to another episode of Getting Unstuck with Lindsay. As you know, we always find ways to get stuck right before filming another podcast. So we're in a different space. And I'm so thankful that it's worked out for me to have guests in person for that reason, because it opened up the guest list that I think we were meant to have. So last week I had Julie here, one of my girlfriends who started out as a client. And today I have Bryan here, who started with me when he was 15 and now he's 18. And I really just wanted to continue to lay the foundations here of tapping and how tapping helps support and undergird every single area of life for any person, whether you're dealing with emotional stuff or physical stuff. And then in our next episode, we're going to get a little bit more into some other things. But I'm really thankful that you're here today. Thank you for making this work. We were both a little nervous because it seems like something keeps going wrong. But I told him he doesn't need to be as nervous as I do because I'm still learning how to do this whole thing. So I just wanted to kind of share with listeners who might be curious about tapping for kids or tapping in their teen years. Because when I am usually working with adults, and we talk about things like anxiety, for example, I am sitting with a woman dealing with today's anxiety. And if I ask her the first time she felt it or the worst time that she ever felt it, and she's able to remember or not, because her body, as you know, will always tell us, we go back to this event, maybe in childhood or in her teenage years, where she felt a lot of anxiety for one of the first times in her life. And if we can kind of go back into whatever that event it was and allow her younger self, whether she's 4 or whether she was 17, to really process whatever event that was from the standpoint of at least tapping on it and feeling it in her body, it seems like the anxiety from that day to today in adulthood kind of gets broken up like a domino effect. So what's really interesting is that when I experience that for my first time, or when my clients do, because you are one of my younger people, everyone says, I just wish I had this when I was younger. It's kind of like we almost have to like tap on the grief of, oh my goodness, what if I had this when I was 4? What if I had this when I was 15?
Yeah.
Right. And so you do have it. You did have it when you were younger.
I did.
I know.
Yeah.
And I want to just kind of shed some light maybe on what that looks like for a younger person. And you're really insightful. So for a young man, you're really insightful, you're really intuitive, you're pretty self-aware. You've been through a lot, like a lot of kids have, but you kind of have this approach of like, I don't really know what to do from here. I don't really know where to go from here, but you're not afraid to ask for help. You're not afraid to try new things. And you've continued to just move forward in a way that I look at you and you're very set apart from other kids your age, even though you haven't been dealt necessarily like an easier life by any means. So when you and I first connected, because I actually don't always remember, it was so crazy when we caught up recently when I saw you again for the first time. I wouldn't have recognized you in public. It's great. No, because 15 years old, right? 15 to 18 is a really big growth spurt for kids and for teens. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. And so what's wild though, is I told you, I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And you were asking me how I was doing and you were really connected and really engaged. And I remember you saying like tapping's really helped you over the years that we didn't see each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was cool because I actually got a perspective that I don't get all the time. So when you were 15, I didn't totally remember what you came to me for, but you might remember, and I do want you to share when you were 15, but I do remember the way you carried yourself.
So when I was 15, the first time that I had saw you, it was with my mom. Remember when my mom walked in?
Yes.
And then we got like situated, but I came in to see you because I was just like really depressed and I had like really bad anxiety and I just didn't know what to do at all. And my mom saw that and she saw that like I needed help. So she said, "Oh, there's like a therapist, but like
But not.
but not, yeah." She's like, "But not." I was like, "What do you mean?" And then she was like, "Yeah, it's like you have to do a tapping and like, like just give it a try." And like, she just wanted me to give it a try because I was like not doing good at all mentally. And so I gave it a try. And then the first time I was like, "Do this. All right. So repeat after me." You're like telling me all these
What'd
things.
you think about it?
And I was just like, "What?" I was like, "Is this really going to help?" It's just like, what, like tapping here? Like, what is, I was like, "What is she talking about?"
Crazy lady.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I was willing to do everything that you were teaching me how to do.
Yep.
And so I didn't, like, you told me to do like those things when I got home or whatever. I didn't do them, but.
What did I tell you to do?
Like the tapping.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
the first few times I was just like, like, is this really gonna help me?
Yeah.
And so, but after like going with you more and more, I did feel like a big difference in my body, like the grief or, like getting down to the root of what was really getting like my anxiety. Yeah. And tapping on it and just like allowing myself to feel the way that I'm feeling and not run away from it. And that's what like tapping has helped me like realize, like allow ourselves to feel the way that we feel and just tap on it.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, you were so willing.
Yeah.
You were so willing. I have to say too that when you were feeling anxious and depressed.
Yeah.
I think that was 2018 or 19.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because when COVID hit, all the teenagers were anxious and depressed. A lot of kids lost their sports, right? It was like so many kids had stuff taken away, and I had this huge influx of teenagers who were struggling with anxiety for the first time in their lives. You actually were struggling pre-COVID.
Yeah. Pre-COVID,
yeah. And I do remember why. Do you remember why? I just remembered what the initial issue, there was anxiety, there was depression, but there was a person in your life when they came around, it caused a lot of anxiety and panic.
Person.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it, but I just remembered what it was. So I don't know if it really matters at all. But the reason I said that is because so much of the way things get held in our bodies is when we have this safe environment. In your safe house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you're moving through life like this, and then something big or heavy or hard or challenging shows up and makes you feel like you're not safe.
Yeah.
And that's what had happened. So you and I did some great work.
Yeah.
And kind of finished. Like we were kind of done. I felt like we were done. You were kind of feeling good. You were kind of moving into your life.
Yeah.
And then you had, on top of all of that, then you had a traumatic event happen.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Going through that traumatic event?
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. Like that was definitely the first trauma that will ever like stick with me. And like going through that, it was just like, I was just very speechless, hurt, and like didn't know where to go from there. Cause it was just hard, like losing my grandpa to suicide. It's just very tough because that was my only father figure that I have had. Mm-hmm. So it was just, I was really clueless. I didn't know where to go, where's my life going to be start from here. Cause I just had my mom and.
Yeah. You and I had already been working together, and I know it's hard for us to know where we would be if we hadn't done something. And you are kind of a classic situation that I want for people is you come when you're struggling. I teach you the tool. We move through a big heavy thing, and I send you on your way back into your best life.
Yeah.
But as I sent you away, then he committed suicide.
Yeah.
So it was this huge hit, which is when I do want people to come back and do the work with me because we can get the roots differently. Do you think that you were able to do you think that that event, even though it wasn't easy, do you feel like you handled it differently than you would have had you not had tapping by that point?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like if I didn't handle it with tapping, I would have handled it like other ways that I probably shouldn't have. Like for me, I think it probably would have been substance abuse 100% because I was hurting every day. Like for the first month, it was like hard, but I just had to keep tapping, and those just letting everything out to you, like helped me. Like
It's awful.
yeah, it was definitely hard, but just like you hearing me and like helping me, like talking me through it would definitely help me. And I feel like I wouldn't, if it wasn't for tapping, I would definitely be, I don't know.
I know that's the weird thing. It's like, I don't know. I just know that that hit was a different or a lighter hit somehow.
Yeah.
What's wild though is very quickly after that, you and I did not get to work on Grandpa very long before my dad got sick.
Yeah.
And I kind of quit working for a while to take care of him. And so all of a sudden it was like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And you had to kind of move on. And I didn't know this. I mean, we really kind of lost touch.
Yeah,
but you took the work we did and you just kept doing it.
Yeah. I had to, because I feel like if I didn't want it for myself, then like no one else would really want it for me. And so I would obviously I would have like thoughts like, damn, like my grandpa's gone, like I don't know what to do. Like I would have a lot of this anxiousness, and like I would just get way too much in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would think about like when he first passed, because with the tapping, with like going to you, it definitely eased it. But then once we kind of like go our separate ways, and it was definitely harder because I didn't have no one, like no therapist at all or anything. And so I thought about all the work that we did, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like try it, and like it has to work, And then so I started tapping, and I was like, wow, like just like repeating, how like we do like the talking, like it's okay to feel this way, like, and just telling yourself. And if you hear it yourself, it actually does make like a big difference. Like just saying it to yourself, it really like gives you that, I don't know how to say it, but I don't know the word, but once you like say it outside, then you're like allow yourself to feel the way that you're feeling.
Yeah, like I hear what it's almost like sometimes it's confirming.
Yeah.
Permission. But I also feel like it gives it a place to go.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just like sitting and not knowing what to do, versus like sitting with it and feeling it moves it differently.
Yeah.
So what's crazy, this was just crazy because I wouldn't have wanted us to not be able to finish our work.
Yeah.
But the fact that you just really took it into your own hands and continued to apply it, and really what you did was you showed up for yourself, like you said, in a way that nobody else ever can. Like we never have to do this work alone, but we are the only ones who can do it. And so what was so fun for me, and I know you know this, but for anyone listening, it was wild because I have teenagers. So I think my kids were 16 at the time and maybe 13.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had an idea of how kids like grow and change, and then as adults, we don't like change as rapidly. And so recently, you and your mom reached out again.
Yeah.
And, do you remember why?
Yeah, I was just getting worse with my depression. Like I just had lost my routine.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was not going in the right direction at all. And I needed that boost, like someone to like talk to me and just get me out of it.
Yeah. So then you got hit by COVID.
Yeah.
After Grandpa died. Then you went through the COVID thing.
Yeah.
On top of all of this, you also had some stomach issues. That we kind of touched on 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember if tapping on the emotional issues helped resolve any of your physical symptoms at the time? Because I just don't remember.
Yes, it definitely did. It would help me. Like I wasn't able to eat, like back then I wasn't like what I was eating, I just wasn't able to really keep it down. But when we did tap, emotionally, like I wasn't like in my head as much, so I was able to like do more physical activity, you know, get more food down or whatever whatever it may have been. But I definitely
You
did.
felt the shift physically.
Yeah, 100%.
So, so when you showed up again, it was so cute because his mom used to have to drop him off, right? Because your school schedule and her work schedule. And so I was like, okay, well, what's your availability? You know, and you're like, all the time, because I'm just doing school from home.
Yeah.
Right. And then like, okay, well, do you have your license yet? And you had your license.
Yeah.
And so it made it really easy for you to come. And it was just so cool because you showed up and do you remember how you used to hold yourself?
I used to hold my like shoulders all the way down and like
always
didn't have like no type of confidence. Like I feel like I wasn't really confident in the way I would talk either, and just really like I don't know how to explain it.
You kept yourself small and you kept yourself kind of like just like this, right?
Yeah.
And so when you showed up that day and there's like this man that got out of a car and your skin was clear because I always remembered you had acne, but you also ate like crap too. Yeah. I always remember like, I mean, I don't know, maybe you ate good sometimes, but I was like, oh, the spicy Cheetos and trying to help your stomach not hurt. Right. But then like you got out of the car and you were standing up straight, confident, your skin's clear. And not that had anything to do with tapping, but it's a representation of how healthy your body is, or skin is. And you like looked me in the eyes and you hugged me and you engaged me and you asked how I was doing and you were so invested. And I thought I would not have recognized you in public. And you almost never could, you probably kept eye contact with me sometimes, but you really were mostly like this.
Like just down.
You were sad.
Yeah.
And now you were like very present. And I know we were excited to see each other again, but I don't know a lot of teen boys who are going to appreciate the presence of a person who's there to help.
Yeah.
And how did your confidence build?
My confidence?
Because it did.
Yeah.
It did, even though you were still going through hard times, your confidence had built.
I would just say like I did, because for 5 months I had a good routine. I was eating pretty good, and during those like 5 months it definitely built up my confidence, because whatever you eat or put into your like system is the way that you're feel. And I've noticed that like that's actually true, like whatever you eat. And so I was just really strict on a diet, really strict on the gym, and I had my goals straight and like my priorities straight, but every day was like not like every day was not all happy jolly. Like I was just disciplined. I was consistent, and so like when you're moving with a purpose, you like everything just like tends to fall in place, and when you do have like those bad thoughts or like whatever it may be, you just have to think like I just thought to myself, it's not always gonna be happy. Like I'm not always gonna be happy. Like every day is going to be like, there's going to be a problem, but it's just how we handle it. So
you knew that this round of heaviness wasn't going to last necessarily. It didn't have to.
Yeah.
So I was so busy, I couldn't connect with you as soon as we wanted to. And by the time we finally sat together, you had another trauma.
Oh yeah, my dog had died. Well, my best friend, raising him. Yeah. And he got ran over.
Yeah. So you just kept getting kind of hit with similar feelings. Yeah. So, so by this time, actually, you had a diagnosis for your stomach. Yeah. Also, so we needed to deal with Grandpa's death again, or more, because we didn't really get to. But you built some really beautiful habits and patterns. You knew you were the only one who could do this. Yeah. And but then now we have this dog death thing that we really sat in and sat with. But then you also had a Crohn's diagnosis. And that, I really believe that a lot of these physical symptoms we get can be from what we put in our body, but also emotional. And you had certainly like been through a lot. And I wish there was a way for us to know where you would be if you hadn't really believed in yourself and created a routine and had a great tool. I just know that not many young people can say, this feels heavy, this feels depressing, but it's not going to last forever. And I have the right tools. So we worked through that. And then I feel like you kind of perked right back up pretty quick.
Yeah, I definitely did.
We got through grandpa.
Yeah.
Differently than before. And we got through the dog.
Yeah.
Okay. And then before we made any changes to your diet, I want you to tell me how moving through grandpa and moving through the dog affected your pain levels. Did you notice that your Crohn's symptoms lightened when we handled the 2 deaths?
Yeah, 100%. Because before I had seen you, I was just not able to eat at all. Like I was telling you, like I was.
You're right.
Yeah, my eating habits were like.
But this is like the second round too.
Yeah.
Like that was before. We got a bunch of it resolved.
Yeah.
And then again this time, your stomach was a mess again.
Yeah, I was just not able to eat. Like I was having once a meal, and it was just like. But I wanted to eat, like I was hungry, but I just, every time I'd eat, it's just like, ugh, like it's so discomforting. And then after we had TAP, it wasn't the next day, it was the day after that I was able to consume more food. Yeah. And I was noticing, I was like, oh, like after, because I think I let everything out that night. I was just so sad over my dog and my grandpa and everything.
Yeah, it all kind of came to
like not having that father figure, and and then I just got everything out, and like, few days I was ready to like start eating, have my routine back, and like now I'm doing pretty. I think
you're doing really well.
I think I'm doing pretty well.
You're doing really well.
From like, when was it, January?
I think we had 3 sessions.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a lot. And I think that's what's amazing about, like, you knew you had a tool, you knew to reach out, you need to just do it.
Yeah,
and you just went whoosh, right back on top. And another thing too, like I have to commend you for, and if in any chance there ever ends up being a teenage boy watching this, or a teenage girl, or, of course, like parents of teens have a hard time because this is a hard world to raise teens
definitely.
in. I know somebody who always said, she wants a good mentor for her son because he doesn't really have his dad, and always wanting a mentor, always wanting a man, which she should always want that for her son. But the thing is that he never asked for that. He never wanted that. But she so badly wants her son to have this father figure. And I don't know about your mom. This isn't about your mom. Your mom's really quick to help you.
Yeah.
But my point is that when we were working on grandpa, you were like, I just didn't have a dad to teach me how to be a man.
Yeah.
Your grandpa was the closest thing you had to a dad, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
And you said, I think I know what you said. Do you remember what you said you really wanted?
I wanted to learn how to work. That's what I said. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I just want to learn how to work hard. Just work hard. Yeah.
So like, no one hears teenagers say that ever. Not in this world ever. And I was like, I know someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the beautiful thing too, is that because I'm doing this because I just love people and I want people to be set free and take this tool. I'm not bound like some like traditional licensed therapists in the form of having to follow certain rules or having to have, like I can say hi to you at a grocery store if you and I are okay with that. So what was cool is that I have a very good man and a very hardworking husband.
Yeah.
And you said, I just want to know how to work hard. And I was like, okay, well, and so I introduced the two of you. And you've been just learning how to work hard.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I think a lot of people, adults included, don't know. We just don't know what we want sometimes. And especially teenagers. But truthfully, we've got a mom who wanted her kid to have somebody, but he never showed up here and said, I just really want someone to teach me.
Yeah.
Whereas you kept saying, things are really hard. Things are really heavy. I really don't think that this has to last, but I know I have to ask for help. I need to show up for my own work. And you did. And you kept doing it. And you've been here for what, like 3 weekends?
Yeah.
2-3 weekends, learning how to work hard.
Yeah.
And we actually, I have a friend who healed her own Crohn's disease naturally.
Yeah.
And so she was just gracious enough to just kind of hand you the first steps. And you've incorporated everything.
Yeah,
Literally everything, because
yeah.
I'm not hand feeding you magnesium or whatever, right? So you've incorporated everything that she said, because this work is very emotional and physical. We really can't physically heal without doing the emotional work. We can't emotionally heal without doing the physical work. So how has your Crohn's changed? We know how it changed with us working on Grandpa and the dog and the sadness and the grief. And then since you simply just changed how you were doing some things physically.
I was definitely able to use like, for me, going to the restroom was, I told you, just like a very hard time for me. Like, I'll be backed up for however many days.
Yeah.
But then once just the Silent Husk and the magnesium, a big game changer. I've been going every morning. Like, I have a routine now. Like, I'm not like constipated or like discomfort with my stomach.
I know, and it just always seems like stomach aches are just going to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be. And getting you like detoxed emotionally and physically is so important. And you got your routine back.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the gym.
Taking my dogs out.
Yeah.
Homework. I'm like settled and have my routine for the day.
Yep. And when you think about Grandpa, how does it feel? Truthfully, when you think about him, because I can say it now and it's not crippling.
Yeah. It's like, it makes me feel some type of like sadness, but not like sad, but definitely like,
it's not in your body anymore.
Yeah, not in my body. Yeah, it's not in my body.
Yeah, it's a memory.
Yeah.
You remember him, love him, honor him.
Yeah.
Have you had more good memories about him since we worked on the hard stuff?
A little bit.
You did it first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to share? I mean, I know like we've been doing some one-on-one work again, but not a lot. I mean, we haven't worked together for a few weeks and you're doing great. So how would you say that you use tapping now on your own without me? What's your go-to?
My go-to like situation that I just
tap? Yeah.
Let's see. I use it for a lot because I'm just an anxious person, so I just find myself like just tapping on the regular because I feel like that helps my anxiety a lot. Like,
yeah.
But probably when I'm like, I use it a lot in the gym when like I feel like people are staring at me and I get anxious. I just like, let me tap real quick and just like,
and then what?
I just forget it and just
perfect.
Go on about my workout.
Perfect.
That's a big one right there.
It is a big one right there. That's the best part when you're like like dead in your tracks. You're like, I have to tap on this. I'm so stuck right here. And then all of a sudden you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. You're like, oh, I was tapping and I stopped.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good. Well, you're going to keep doing the work.
Yep.
I'm here for you. And you know what to do and you're doing it. And you're such a great example of someone who says, you know, I'm responsible for myself and my feelings and my physical health. And you just really, it's impressive, like how well you stay on track with checking your boxes off. And you know, too, like if you have a bad day, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
It's not, your life's not bad. Right. So, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it. And I hope that a whole bunch of young kids, are more willing to do this because if I just know that because you've done this work as such a young man, you're not going to have the anxieties and the sadness and the grief, all like locked up and compiled into your body in your 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
Can imagine that, like having all that stuck up until like your 20s and like trying to break it down. Like, I feel like that would be a lot. Like, it's
a lot harder to do the work when more time's passed. And you're never going to have to know what that would have felt like. Just stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
Join me again 1 week from today. I get to introduce you to integrative health practitioner Lisa Sipkar, right when I felt stuck again with an uncertain health issue. She came out of the blue and saved the day. She and I are linking arms for your best overall emotional and physical health, and I can't wait to connect you with her.